Huh. Well, are we all in place now? It is Friday evening, June the 5th, and there is a whole lot of hand-wringing going on. My goodness, listening to Tucker and Michael Boris and Mother Miriam and the local news groups. Sounds like the world's coming to an end, doesn't it? Well, in my life, I have watched as the expectations for social behavior have gone right down the toilet. I've watched it happen. I've seen the introduction of gambling, and then the introduction of porn, and then the introduction of, well, at first it was just birth control, and then it was abortion. What was abortion started in 73, legalized. And then we've had the serial wars that have pretty much destroyed our young men, having to go to foreign countries and harm people they don't even know for they didn't know what reason. And it turned out to be CIA regime change most of the time, as it has turned out with physics and space science, the reality of it being secret, so that the secret ET treaties don't talk about what they're actually for. They're commercial treaties that promote human trafficking and body parts marketing and gun running and drug running. All right, these are all problems that have come up in the past over and over and over again with each high-tech civilization as it arises, you say. Okay, it was in Sumer, it was in Babylon, it was in Assyria, and it was in Greece, and it was in Rome, and in Tartaria. And each of those civilizations, because they were based on a culture, an ET culture called the Anunnaki culture, they adopted some of the fifth dimensional Anunnaki practices of the secrecy and the elites who run everything, and the sacrifice victims who redeem their morality periodically. Humanity has taken the Anunnaki culture and twisted it into a protection racket. Okay. And so what I've seen in my lifetime is the behavior of people go from civil to barbaric, from decent to hedonistic, from hopeful to cynical. And it's a sad thing to watch. But I understand that there's a reason and a purpose for this, because souls in time and location and space periodically get sorted out like the wire hangers in the closet and the junk in the closet. Souls have to get sorted out. And souls get sorted out by the behaviors that they choose. So what we're doing is choosing with whom our soul will associate in our future by how we behave now. So who do you want to hang out with in your future after this life? You have passed through this life and you've moved on. Who do you want to be with? Okay. Who do you want to be with? If you, how does that saying go? You want to be what you want to see. Okay. You want to be what you want to see. And what has gone by the wayside is the wisdom and the manners and the courtesy and the decency of our grandmothers, our grandparents, generation, half a century ago. Now, how do we retrieve that? That's the big question for me. And in my meditations, I was asking God about how do we retrieve that? And what he says to me is that you can only retrieve your own soul. You can't retrieve anybody else's soul. You can't retrieve anybody else's behavior. You can't tell anybody or teach anybody how to be or who to be or what to be. And I thought about that and I thought, you know something, that's true. The only soul that we have any control over is our own. Okay? This is the only person we'll ever have any control over, right here, okay? And wherever we go, there we are, okay? And you take your soul with you. There's no way to run. There's no way to flee. There's nowhere to go. Our soul is here now. And our soul has to decide who are the people we want to hang out with in our future. And I saw some videos today that Tucker Carlson pointed out that were really sad. These are self-done videos of young people who are disgusted with their family's identity politics, and they no longer want to have anything to do with their family. This is called shunning. It's called disfellowshipping. It's called running away. And lots of young people are doing that right now. And they will reap what they are sowing, and we can't fix them. Okay, we can only fix ourselves. And so, thinking about how we do this, in my own life, the only people that I overtly influence are the members of my family who are willing to talk to me, because I have some identity politics going on in my family too. And the members of the family, like as when I was a child, I grew up in a foster family that were all atheists. Half of them were Bolsheviks, the other half were business people. They were from the Ukraine and Russia. And they knew that I was different. And so they never confided in me. They never told me, they never gave me advice. They just left me alone. Okay, they left me alone. And for me, I think that was probably a blessing, because I know I didn't fit in with them. Okay. I grew up with them and I left, and I have had a life that's very different from their lives. And that was just circumstances, you know. Someday I'll understand that. But we have to choose with whom we want to associate in our future. And we do that by creating outcomes by our behavior that either work with or, that work with the people that we love. There's the path. We create outcomes for the people that we love, that work for them and that work for us. We create harmony where there was misunderstanding. We create forgiveness when a misunderstanding goes too far and it becomes a grudge. We serve as a peacemaker. We listen. We listen to the people we treasure and love, and stop trying to tell them how to be righter than they already are. We don't lecture to them. We let them develop their soul at their pace and pray for guidance. And so this is our way out of the predicament of social chaos, that we can't fix the world. We can only fix our response to the world. We can only fix our response to the people we love. We can only fix our lack of abilities in the interpersonal department. And this is why I keep bringing people like Jordan Peterson back into these videos, because I have found that his explanations of the causes and effects of behavior explain my children to me, explain my past to me, explain my neighbors to me, explain things. Oh, so that's how people get it or don't get it. He's very, very helpful in his professional clinical practice. And he's marginally religious, but he's not dogmatic, all right? And what I try to do here is speak to common sense and to causes and effects, because causes and effects are how we experience our experience. We do something not knowing what the outcome will be, okay? Let's say I decide to mop the kitchen floor, all right? And a neighbor hits the doorbell and they walk in the door and they say, hey, you know, you've got things all squared away today, you know? And there's a good feeling because I did something and the outcome was good. We do a good deed or refrain from doing a bad thing, and the outcome is good. This is what used to be going on. This is what does not go on as often anymore. If you call on a commercial or a business matter, and if you get the answer back and the friendly voice and the cooperation, it's an inspiration to keep going. But if you get the answering machine that says, if you want the nose picking department, press 1, and if you want the ear, you know, if you just get the recording, you're not as inclined to want to continue to do business with such a company. When the technology becomes so cumbersome and so one-sided that we spend hours just trying to figure out the technology itself, then maybe we are influenced to set the technology aside and go back to the direct contact method. Let's use the direct contact method more and the technology less. Let's create harmony more for our own soul in time and place and function. Let's improve ourselves. It's called Pilgrim's Progress. Those were the days, and this is now, when Pilgrim's Progress can make a world of difference, when doing a kindness for a neighbor has real meaning, because most neighbors don't even speak to each other anymore. All right. Here in California, the churches are still shut down. And the weather's been nice and hot and comfortable, and everybody's outside. But the churches are not functioning now. And so I thought to myself, well, I'll bet you they're on the phone a lot. You know, if you can't meet in meetings, you get together on the phone, or you get together on Skype or on YouTube, you gather. That's not what's happening. That's not what's happening. The churches I have been in contact with that initially offered me companionship and relationship have withdrawn. And it's not a personal thing. They have withdrawn out of fear. Now, have you ever noticed there seem to be at least two kinds of people? There are those, and I think we can say as a generality, that First Nations and Indigenous people have an instant reaction to a surprise, to go hide. They retire immediately. Some people retire immediately and somebody get in your face immediately. All right, well, you know, I'm the get in your face kind of person. And I know a lot of retiring people and a few get in your face people. And this is a handy tag to put on a get in your face person when you can find one, because they don't seem to be as frequent as the hide, go away and hide and pull in your moat, okay, and protect yourself. Right now, we have very few leaders who are willing to put themselves out there and speak to how to keep one's integrity in a world gone careless, angry, and sloppy. There are not many people who are willing to put themselves out there. And if you know somebody who's willing to put themselves out there, go ahead and encourage them. Encourage those people who put themselves out there to lead and to bring up difficult topics and to wonder about, well, now what do we do? Because leading the conversation, leading the dialogue is what leadership is about. Unfortunately, our mainstream media is sold out to an agenda. There are only 6 companies that own all of the media outlets, and they are all owned by rich globalists. So they all have exactly the same agenda. And in fact, I've seen videos where newscasters lined up across the screen are all reading from exactly the same script. Have you seen that? They're all reading from the same script. Well, that nobody wants to listen to that. All right. And so we have to find people to listen to that makes sense to us. And then there are people who find us because we make sense to them. And it becomes kind of a listening hierarchy. Now, you know, there are not very many people who listen to me. I don't know if that's a YouTube matter or if it's just my lack of professional, whatever it is. But when you find somebody who's willing to put themselves out there, it's a good idea to encourage them any way you can, because there aren't very many people like that. Most people just want to retire and hide and hope and pray that things will somehow go better. Well, it doesn't work that way. We have to communicate with each other to help each other. We have to listen to each other to relieve the tension and relieve the dread of what might come tomorrow. And at this point, the dread is real because what is happening in our face, the staging of riots with bricks delivered to the inner cities so that the rioters have their bricks to throw through the windows, all right? And the rioters being paid by non-governmental organizations to do the rioting. You know, now that we're still in a limited lockdown and so many people have lost their jobs, those are the people that are vulnerable to being hooked into rioting. The number of prisoners that have been let out of jail due to the COVID-19 quote virus. Okay, so we now have criminals out on the street that weren't on the street before, added to the people who are unemployed, who have nothing to do, who are idle. You see how the devil is in the details. That's why, of course, it's easy to create a conflagration and start a riot, because the circumstances have been created to do that. And we know. Academia has been teaching those methods of creating riots since 1917, when the Rothschild Bolsheviks paid strikers and rioters to drive Tsar Nicholas II, who was an innocent Christian monarch, off the throne and kill him. All right. It was guys with deep pockets that created the riots that took Russia, which was a Christian country and now is a Christian country again, into the throes of the communist USSR. And that's what the Bolsheviks today, the rioters who are paid by deep pockets, who follow Marx, who follow the Frankfurt School, who follow Saul Alinsky and the protocols of the learned elders of Zion, they go through these routines of creating disaffection and crime and violence. It's almost on a schedule. It's on a schedule. All right. So gather around your friends who make sense of what's happening and explain to your children that what we're seeing is a staged drama, not unlike the Truman Show. It's that staged. It's like the Truman Show. And so trust at this point is a very dear commodity. There are very few people who know enough of what is true to be able to speak responsibly, to be able to speak helpfully in this time. So be patient with the ones who are willing to speak, and add your ideas and add your feedback and add your financial support when you can. For myself, I squeak by, and I have an account. Holy Conservancy has an account at PayPal if you'd like to put a couple of bucks in there. I took my Patreon account down because it was just too many places, too scattered all day long. I couldn't do it all. So this is where I try to make a difference and point things out. The last few days, I have been leaning very, very, very hard in the UK on the Privy Council, the Duke of Norfolk, 10 Downing Street, the UK Home Office, and the Archbishop, because the Queen has been out of function, out of the realm of the public now for a couple of months. The monarchy is not leading. Its function is to be the moral leader of the kingdom, and they're not doing it. So I'm asking those agencies who are actually responsible for and accountable for deciding on and choosing the next monarch to stop sitting on their hands and to get going on finding a monarch who can not only satisfy the bloodline, but also satisfy the need for education and skills and experience. And come on, the bloodline is quite large. And the reason for the bloodline is that the monarch has to be extremely intuitive, if not telepathic. That's what the whole bloodline thing is about. They have to have paranormal psychic skills. That's the reason for being in the bloodline. Commercial-minded people do not have a broad enough perspective to be able to mediate and arbitrate between different constituencies in the business environment. And that's why mercantile minds do not work in a monarchy. You can't have mercantile minds in a monarchy. You've got to have philosophical minds and very abstract and expansive minds in a monarchy to be able to wrap their heads around the very large disputes and conflicts that occur worldwide. That's the purpose of the monarchy, that the cognitive ability to handle huge problems is innate in the royal bloodline, and it's stopped. They've been mostly mercantile now for over a century, and that hasn't helped the United Kingdom. That hasn't helped set the United Kingdom to a moral and ethical tone where the royals can speak to the problem of illegal and criminal behavior that's aided and abetted and promoted in religion, intentionally and not intentionally. You see, the monarch is supposed to lead the church, but the church has been busy just simply responding and replying to the political and mercantile points of view. The monarch hasn't been leading. And so I've been beating up the Privy Council and demanding to know when they are going to stop sitting on their hands and choose another monarch so that the United Kingdom can proceed with mediating these conflicts and disputes between different cultures that are occurring now in Britain that are just about breaking Britain's back. Well, we do what we can. And I hope you're doing. Can I please link my PayPal account? Sure. The account is under, Holy Conservancy, vancy.org. And that's just somebody you can send $1 to, whatever, because I just got my PG&E bill. It was almost $200. Oh my God. So, all right. And Diego, thank you for mentioning that. That's very kind of you. All right. We have to lead and we have to follow. And we have to have people to lead. And we have to have people to follow. And so let's get that sorted out, would you? Help me sort it out. That's my idea for moving one step a little closer to getting to a civil society that consents to good behavior. Okay? We'll see you. Oh, yes, tomorrow. Tomorrow, I won't be at People's Internet Radio, but I will be at Facebook. And we're going to proceed with the History Reset line of thinking. How do we get back on the line of history that we lost when there was a reset in the 19th century? All right, we'll get there. Remember Tartaria. Oh, and if you want to look at the background and how our history has been distorted, there's this wonderful channel here on YouTube. And it's called, and it has nothing to do with Flat Earth. It's called Flat Earth British, and it has nothing to do with Flat Earth. All right. And it's all about how our history has been twisted by the same people who've been pushing us into mercenary behavior. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Thank you so much for coming by. Thank you for allowing me to just, I just do my thing. Love you, dear. Bye. All right. I don't know if I did.